वेलकम टू द सेकेंड पॉडकास्ट ऑफ सुजाता एंड आज की जो गेस्ट है बहुत ही खास है एंड आई हैड इंटरव्यूड आवर गेस्ट ऑफ सेकेंड एपिसोड ऑल द वे फ्रॉम माउंटेन्स एंड आई पर्सनली लव दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन पीपल. सो अगर आप एक सेल्फ अवेयरनेस के बारे में समझना चाहते हैं, हाउ टू कंट्रोल योर इमोशंस, हाउ टू डील विद योर इमोशन, how to get rid of the depressions, anxiety and lot more, then ये episode आपके लिए है. I have got a real goal, I have got a real insight, I have got a real gem out of this entire episode. People, you will love it. Go enjoy the session. Hey everyone, Sujata this side again, and I'm here with my second podcast with Yajan directly from Nanital. So I came here for retreat and I had very good learning with Yajan, and I definitely thought that I should take this knowledge from Yajan and pass it over to you guys. So we have Yajan over here talking about, we'll be discussing about a lot of other things about self-awareness, and we'll have a conversation. So yeah, Yajan, again welcome.
Thank you so much, Sujata. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Yajan, I would like to know, starting off from the self-awareness, because even I have been coaching, and most of them they miss is that they don't know who they are, how they have to react on the emotions they have. So they are not aware of what to do with their emotions and lot of other things. So, how can someone find themselves? How can someone know about themselves?
It's a journey to know about themselves when you talk about self-awareness. So if we have to break down this into two words, like self is myself and awareness is about knowing.
Right.
So it's like when you focus inside rather than outside, the journey of awareness begins. Right?
That's true. Wow, amazing. So again, if I have to talk about even myself, that there was instance that I couldn't understand that how do I react to the things. I was like, कुछ हो गया तो ऐसे गुस्सा आ रहा है मुझे, या फिर किसी ने कुछ बोल दिया तो मुझे ऐसे इमोशन एक बुरा लग रहा है, मैं 2 दिन बाहर नहीं निकल रही हूँ. तो how do I deal with these things again? Emotion, if I have to tell. How do I balance my emotion?
So there are two things when we talk about this, Sajata, from the story that you shared. Things happened and then how do I react to it?
Right.
Is like defining my actions or my life around it. So if we have to separate yourself, like the emotions part of it, from the event that happened. See, it's like an event happened, right? But then how do I attach my narration or my story to it, creates an emotion around it?
Right.
If that makes sense to you, right?
That's true.
It's like people go to a movie, like 300 people are watching the same movie, but people have a different opinion about the same movie.
True.
Right? Because everyone has a different way of looking at it. So the perspective changes, the storyline changes. Similarly, it's like someone misses a flight, they feel sad about it. If I'll miss a flight, I'll feel like, oh, I got more time to spend in that particular area. Maybe I'll do things like that. It's because I'm trying to change the narrative around it.
Right.
And that is how do we achieve that? Now, it's not easy. Maybe it's not always healthy. But if it is like something has happened, do I have the power to control it?
We don't.
We don't, right? Because what we control is the input rather than the output.
Right.
So an event happening is like an output that has happened.
Right.
Now, how do I relate to it with myself? Did it happen because of me? If yes, then there is a learning behind it.
Right.
There is a learning attached to it. What do I need to do next time?
Right.
I could identify do's and don'ts. And how will it happen when I am aware of myself rather than blaming the external circumstances because of which it happened? And then when I identified something has happened, and now how do I react to it, or how do I respond to it? So these are very two different words with a very thin line between it. So reaction is when I'm operating from a state of subconscious mind because I'm triggered to do something.
True.
Because I am in a pattern, I'm falling prey of the patterns which have formed over the years.
Right.
But the moment I just take a pause, take a deep breath, invite that element of time into it, be it 5 seconds, be it 10 seconds.
Right.
Then I become a bit calm and then I'm able to respond to the situation.
True.
Right? And then I can actually define a path from it. How do I need to take my next steps? Which could be my next steps?
Right.
And see, it's a journey. It's like easier said than done, Sajata.
Right.
Right? Every time you'll be triggered to react. Every time things happen and you want to operate from a place of patterns. Your patterns will be driving your actions. But then when you take that pause, is where you invite the element of self-awareness into the picture,
True,
right?
true. And I think that 5 second of pause is really important, which we usually we want to just react. You mentioned it so beautifully that instead of reacting, if we start responding, there's a lot of things can change. Abhi,
Undoubtedly.
the things that is happening in our life, it is because of the way that I reacted upon that, right? So the way you mentioned again that the narrative, how do I look, what is my perspective, and how do I react to it, respond to it, that changes everything. So that was beautifully answered again. So I also have one more thing, that most of the time people are like they are in depressions, they, because even the pandemic happened, I was personally in depression for the last 2.5 months, and it was difficult for me to come out of it, because I had people, I thought ki people are busy, because when we were not having pandemic I thought people are busy because they it's a traffic, they're traveling, so they must be tired. But when I realized that even when people are working from home, they don't have time to even check on me, okay, oh, there's someone again, no, at least we need to connect once. So I dealt with this, it was a tough time. So what do you think, how can someone deal with such darkness where they don't have their emotions to share, they don't have anyone to share their emotions, and uh, how do one deal with it again?
So if you'll ask me, I'll say start from changing the narrative again. Now, within this conversation, you talked about depression, you talked about darkness.
Right,
If you feel if it is dark, you will find yourself in darkness, right?
right,
But if you feel like, oh, it was a challenging time, I
right,
might take my own sweet time, but I know I'll be out of it.
right,
Somewhere we don't know the timeline,
right,
but we have belief in ourselves, right? That's where we talk about this concept of self-awareness. It's like, I know I have the potential, but something is holding me back.
right,
I know there has been challenging times, but then it is just a challenging time.
right,
The moment I attach some big words and emotions to it, that's how my actions are also driven. The moment I say, oh, I was depressed, as compared to the moment I'll say, maybe I'm going through a rough patch
tough
right
patch,
now.
right.
Right now,
But what to do when you have, that's fine, but one more thing, that when I don't have anyone to share,
you
so
have you. What is the importance of self-awareness then if we don't realize that it starts within us, right?
right,
Maybe you can talk to yourself, talk out loud.
right,
You can go and stand in front of the mirror. You are the
right,
only person you'll have with yourself always. You
right,
write it out. Intent
right,
is, I totally agree to the fact that when we have a support system, it always becomes easy, right?
right,
But then from that, you have to operate from a space of hope rather than darkness.
absolutely.
Maybe I'll say, maybe I'm losing hope, but I know it is out there somewhere. So
Changing the narrative,
changing the narrative, it
right,
helps.
it
I'm not saying
helps,
you the solution is just around the corner,
right,
but then you get that belief and you get going in it.
true,
That's
true,
how it
true.
helps.
Wow, I think I really wish I would have met you earlier.
It's better late than never.
Yeah, but I'm still on time. Okay. Also, one more thing, that this is very common with most of us, that how to deal with failure, because we can't deal, and we like there's a lot of people I have seen who had committed suicide, and in fact me myself, I had that thought when I was in depression, or I do when everything is going wrong, nothing is working as per my plan, even if I'm putting that effort. So I see myself as a failure again, but there are a lot of people again, they fail every single time. And how can we um, deal with the failures?
If I have to say, if I have to ask you, request you, Sujata, if you have to choose a different word apart from failure, can you come up with a different word which is not so disempowering? Let's say
uh,
someone gets rejected in an interview, right? Rejection is
right,
equals to
right,
failure,
right, it
right?
is,
So it's like someone said, no, we do not have the vacancy for you.
right,
Does it mean failure?
no,
What could it mean possibly?
just because they don't have vacancy over there, that means that is not um, that means that I'm not worth it of it. That doesn't mean that
That
I'm
does
not,
not mean it,
right,
right? It
right.
could be like, oh, maybe there's a mismatch
There's a
of skills.
better job opportunities
Instead
for
of
me,
saying
right?
I got rejected, it's like, oh, there was a mismatch of skills. or maybe I need to upskill myself. Not necessarily that I know everything, right? Maybe that is a space where I get to realize, oh, I need to work on myself. And that is such a beautiful thing. The more I'll keep on getting rejection, it's like if I am hungry to learn, if I am hungry to attach a learning with that particular event. Again, it's an event that happened. Now, for someone who gets failed, let's say I'll give a very simple and relatable example. People go through heartbreaks, right? Someone chooses to like consume their time with going through substances, taking use of substances like anything, could be anything. Let's not get into the details of it. And someone says, "Oh, I need to give a direction to my life now." Someone starts going to the gym, someone starts running, someone starts with their own business, and then people become success stories. So what changed? Again, an event happened, but for first person, it's like I want to escape with something which I'm not able to handle right now. And some people take the charge of their own life, and then they navigate their energies into something constructive.
That's true.
Right? So for that, you need the basis of self-awareness where you realize, okay, I have that potential, I just need to tap it at the right time.
So rather than telling that I'm failing, I can tell I'm trying.
Such a beautiful thing. See how easy it is, right? It's just that I should not feel, and I believe. See how when a baby starts walking, it does not just get up and starts walking. Fail down, gets up, tries again, takes support from someone, then just walks this distance, and then we become so joyful, right?
That's true.
And that's how we have learned everything in life. Someone who has started to ride a bicycle is not, they got onto the bicycle and started riding.
It takes time, it's a process.
You fall down, you get up, you fall down.
Also, Yajan, I also want to know from you that how do you deal with your failures? Because we all fail, so how do you deal with it?
It's the most beautiful thing that happens in life, I believe. It means that I'm trying, because what I know, I'm not failing into that particular thing. I'm failing necessary at something which I don't know, but I'm ready to take a leap of faith and try. So every time I try, there is a possibility whether I'll be able to do it or I'll learn something. It's not like I'm failing, it's like I'm learning something. And because I stay hooked onto this fact that there is a learning behind it, so I don't feel so I'm failing. It's like it's a journey as we talked about it. It's like I'm just taking baby steps, one step at a time, and that keeps me going as well.
Amazing. I love that one point that you mentioned in the beginning, that it's a beautiful journey. I asked you, okay, how do you deal with failures? You tell me it's a beautiful experience and journey. And I think that if we start changing the narrative, like you mentioned, and if we start looking at the things the way that you look at, I think that definitely a lot of things can change in our life. And a lot of people, the kind of emotion they deal after failure is something, a lot of things can change, I personally believe. So one last question, that what is your 3 key takeaways, that 3 key values that you want to share to my audience again?
3, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Keep trying, keep failing, keep making mistakes, keep learning, keep growing. Thank you so much, guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yajan,
Thank you
for
so
being
much,
on the
Radha.
podcast. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Yeah.